Hi, Israel.
Yes, hello. How are you doing?
Welcome.
Yeah, I hope you can hear me. I'm on my way home, so there is some noise around.
Yeah, but I can hear you though.
Yeah, that's thanks. Yeah, that's fine. Let's maybe wait for others to join.
Yeah, about 5 to 10 minutes and see.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
Robertino, welcome.
Hello, hello. How's it going?
I'm good. And you?
Fine.
Are we waiting for a couple of minutes just in case?
Y- Yeah. We're waiting for a couple of minutes. Welcome, Bernard.
Greetings, long time. Hi,
Long
Haran.
time.
Oh, Marco Martino, how are you?
How's it going? All
This-
good?
I'm fine. You are the person I want to meet sometime. But if we don't meet, you need to know we really appreciate your videos you did. We are relying on them on our Haskell Bluetooth.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah,
Thank you so much. You're welcome. I'm really glad that
thank
you're
you.
useful.
Yeah, sure. But we still want to meet you. And
Yes,
Haran and
eventually.
you.
Eventually we'll meet. Yes.
You can send me your calendar, your invite.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Haran, for your way. I've invited everyone. Some are on the lessons now. Let me invite them again.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll just give them like 2 more minutes.
Okay. Right.
Robertino, I attended one of your classes when you came to Kenya to teach Kigana.
All right. Let's get.
Amazing. You see, it's a small world.
Yeah,
Eventually we'll all meet.
yeah.
Yeah, it was different back then. Now we are using Aiken way more, so it got easier.
Yeah.
But if you power through the course in Kenya, you're a great guy. You're really smart because it was hard.
And it was I attended only one of them because I couldn't make all of them because I had a bit of obligations at the time. But
Yeah.
then I had taken like some Emargo Academy courses, And I had also watched a couple of your videos.
Nice. Yeah, it was a big ask. It was like a full day for like 2 weeks kind of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Really intense.
So, so these sessions are usually meant to be like for communities to engage, so that we can share our blockers, the challenges we are experiencing in the community, so that as Intersect we can figure out a good way to be able to guide people, like guide people that are onboarding or are trying to figure their way around Cardano. But you find like because the sessions are usually not as engaging, we come up with lessons once in a while to be able now to just educate for the people who are willing to join and to just come and listen. So today, the session was on open source documentation. So it's just a general overview of the importance of documentation, how we write documentation usually on Cardano. Um, um, I have, yes, like a couple of points and notes written, but then it would be better if it was more engaging, more of a conversation between all of us, because even I who's teaching, we're all learning, and I might not know everything. I might not have I definitely do not have everyone's experience. So I'll just share my screen. So what I'm sharing is the update. There will be an update in our developer experience working group. Right now, I'm just hosting it on localhost. If it goes well, I'll just update it like that. If I have like other things to add, given on your feedback or on things that I might have not included, I'll add that, and then before I push to the repository. So this session is focused mostly on contributing to improve open source documentation in Cardano. It's defined as a factor in open source projects' success or failure. It acts as the bridge between the code base and its users. So documentation is basically the heartbeat of open source. So it's crucial to understand why documentation is the lifeblood of any open source project. So it assists mostly in frictionless onboarding, because the biggest barrier to open source contribution is usually understanding the code base. So good documentation, it lowers the barrier to entry. It helps people like easily get on board and start working with the code. It breaks down knowledge silos. Now, if like only the person who's writing the code knows what it does, documentation it beats the purpose now of having like open source code. So documentation basically decentralizes knowledge, protecting the project's longevity. So it's a trust signal as well. Users can judge the maturity, stability, and reliability of open source projects based on their documentation. A poorly documented but brilliantly coded project will almost always lose to a well-documented, average coded one. So it also enables asynchronous collaboration, different people from different places being able to contribute on the same code. It's easier now. It's easier to ask a question when you have a reference point rather than just like a text-based reference point rather than just going directly into the code. So comprehensive documentation ensures developers aren't blocked waiting for maintainers to wake up so that they can answer their questions. So are we together? Anything anyone would like to add till there? Any questions? Any
I agree 100%.
experiences? Sorry?
Agree 100%.
Yeah, I'm happy with it. Maybe you can add the link here so that people can click on it. Thank you.
Okay, so this is on localhost at the moment. We have to first at least, I have to push it, but I'll share the link to the developer experience working group portal. It should be up by tomorrow with a video as well. So everyone who didn't attend can be able to follow. So the cost of poor documentation. Failing to provide clear, actionable documentation has some penalties. Developer abandonment. If a developer cannot set up your project locally within 15 minutes, they will likely abandon it for a competitor's framework. The support burden. Unclear documentation guarantees that your issue tracker and Discord channels will be flooded with the exact same setup and configuration questions repeatedly, burning out maintainers. Security by obscurity. Self-documenting code is a myth when it comes to system architecture. Without high-level design docs, contributors will unknowingly introduce critical bugs because they lack the zoomed-out context of how different modules interact. So our next chapter, documentation-driven development. With the why established, treating documentation as a secondary task is no longer viable. In a docs as code philosophy, documentation is treated with the same rigor as source code. This is actually something interesting that I have actually experienced myself. Like before getting in the Cardano ecosystem and getting a job at Anastasia Labs, I usually just used to start writing code and go with the feeling and the flow. But then one of my first tasks as an intern there was to write documentation. Initially, I did not quite understand the importance until it got now to writing the code, because it turned out like everything that I had written in text could be easily converted as to-dos in a script that can later be converted into code. So that's a bit of personal experience. To continue, start with the code, with the docs, sorry. Writing the README, a design doc or an API specification before writing code clarifies intent, defines API surfaces early, and prevents wasted engineering efforts on misunderstood requirements. Maintain alongside code. CI pipelines should fail if code changes are not accompanied by the relevant doc updates. Code reviews must include documentation reviews. Yeah, so that's also another thing to consider when configuring your CI/CD pipelines. So the return on investment and trade-offs of quality documentation. While the benefits heavily outweigh the costs, maintaining high-quality documentation is an active investment with real trade-offs. The advantages, security and auditing. This is perhaps the most critical advantage in Web3 and the Cardano ecosystem. Auditors cannot effectively verify if a smart contract securely does what it's supposed to do if there is no documentation defining what it is supposed to do. Good specs like CIPs and formal proofs drastically reduce audit times and costs. This is something that also we have experienced at Anastasia Labs. Like, it's the difference between auditing a protocol within a month and sometimes even 3 to 4 months. The quality of the documentation and or even the presence or absence of it. So scalability of the teams. With comprehensive documentation, a project can absorb more than 100 new contributors at once without overwhelming the core maintainers with basic setup questions. Historical context, the why. Code tells you how a system works today. Documentation, specifically architecture decision records. It tells you why it was built that way, preventing future developers from repeating the old mistakes. And also automated validation. When using executable documentation, tests mapped or requirements, your CI/CD pipeline continuously proves that the documentation reflects reality. So the trade-offs, of course, maintenance burden, documentation drift. The worst documentation is wrong documentation. Keeping fast-moving code and documentation perfectly synchronized requires significant discipline and often slow down rapid prototyping phases. But this has gradually changed now because of AI. Like it's with a proper setup, you can do this at the same time. Probably should add that. High initial overhead. Writing great design documentation and mathematical proofs in typist or LaTeX requires massive upfront time investment before a single line of application code is written. Over documenting everything can also lead to unreadable, bloated repositories where contributors cannot find the information they actually need. So it requires aggressive and thoughtful editing. Any questions, comments, additions? Contradiction.
Yeah, if we don't talk, I don't think we'll remember anything.
Yeah.
If we talk, we ask, we discuss, then we grow and we'll remember a lot. The documentation from AI is a little bit of a problem. You need to first write your documentation 80-90% based on the project, because you know the project left and right. And then you can request maybe formatting, grammar correction, English, because English is not our first language. Just to make it clear so that whoever is going to read the documentation gets two things. This, information is communicated correctly. That's my contribution to that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bernard. That's very, very true. You are the author of the code, so it is you are the head. So you should at least have the context first before you engage a tool like AI. I completely agree. So types of documentation. A healthy project maintains several layers of documentation. There's
Arun?
the read. Yes.
Excuse for interruption. There was a hand. It was Mary.
Oh, sure. Yes, Mary.
Yes. A question. Can
ahead.
you say documentation is also more like a user manual?
Yes, it is. It is actually a user manual for code. Yeah, that's a correct assessment. Yes, that's a good way of putting it. I'll actually add that now for to make it easier to understand. Yeah, it is a user manual for the repository you're creating.
And with this, is it only GitHub you can use for doing documentation?
No, there are other systems like Bitbucket. I don't know if you guys know of others. There's GitLab as well, which I think is open source. I don't know if you guys know of others. Gitbook, okay, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, there's quite a lot.
Mm-hmm. So there are different types of documentations, and at least for a competent repository, it's good to include like the README. This is the front door of your project. It must answer, what is this? How do I install it? How do I use it? So essentials, build status, version, concise descriptions, quick start guides, prerequisites, and license and license, like if it's open source or not. Is that a question? Israel, yes.
Yes, thank you for the story. Can you hear me?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, I mean, thank you for the great presentation and things you just explained us. The question I had in mind is, how do you handle how do you plan to explain us about the changing versions? Because actually we have those many issues. We can go further and explore documentation, and then we
Mm-hmm.
start even implementing the changes, but later we figure out, hey, this is not the right version of the service I was requesting. So that has been my case so many times. So do you have anything about that, like documentation, but regarding the version changing? Because things keeps changing every time, improving every day, new version released every day, and so on. Thank you.
So are you asking in particular, like do you have like a repository in mind or a situation like?
I'm speaking first in general in terms of
You
not
writing
I
the
don't have
code,
in mind.
you writing the code and updating the version as you're writing it, or you being able to update your code with the correct version of libraries?
I mean, I was my experience. For example, I was updating a code, and then later I figure out, hey, this is outdated. And I didn't notice it, I didn't notice because it should, I mean, in my opinion, it should appear clearly that, hey, this documentation, for example, concerns the first version or the old stuff. And so that's an idea. I'm just expressing some ideas and you know,
Mm-hmm. Okay, okay. I'd say then, well, I've also experienced something similar, like where like I've used code and then there's a version mismatch. Usually it's possibly poor documentation on the repository, or maybe now the different, if I'm using like cutting edge, like things that have just been released, the supporting libraries might not have completely updated to it. So I'd say it really depends. I don't have a specific answer. Maybe someone else does, but then from what I understand, I don't think. I think it first of all depends on the maintainer of the repository. If they are updating the documentation as they are updating the code, and number two, if it is you who's trying to install, it is whether the supporting libraries work with that version. And most of the time, what I do see is, or rather, most of the time, the best thing to do at that point is not update it. Like, take it back to where it worked until now the other libraries have been able to catch up. At least that would be a safer approach.
yes, that's amazing. Thanks a lot. Yeah, I understand. And what you said is also true. Like while you make some major updates, you update the documentation at the same time. So you won't like come back in the work again. And that's I appreciate the idea.
Okay, thank you so much for your question. So we were talking about like the types of documentation. The README, the front-facing page, tells you what it is. Now the design docs and architecture, this is now like the meat of the project. Explains why behind technical decisions, especially for protocol level changes or major architectural shifts. Examples, Cardano improvement proposals, architecture decisions. I have some examples of some repositories that have like really good documentations around this, like the Cardano node from Intersect, Anastasia Labs, the Glutak design patterns is really well written. There's also like Evolution SDK also has really good documentation. I'll probably add it here as well. So those can be very good examples now. Like if you're doing your own project, you can like follow this guide, and then you can look at some of those repositories just to know like how to make at least your repository look competent, like you know what it is you're doing. So there's the executable documentation, like you've run tests. It's good to also show people like how to run the tests, share some screenshots of the test results and what people would expect in the output. Let me just show you guys with this. Like this has a good table of content here, the README, how to use it, like how to install it, the versions to use. If there is a bit more setup needed, explain it well. And then there's like a GIF here showing exactly what you would expect now when if you were to test this. And the steps. So you see, if someone, even if you're not like competent in Haskell, but you want to try out something or Plutarch, it is easy for you to go and clone this repository and try it for yourself, and you would know exactly what to expect. And the test results, screenshot of the test results. Patterns. Sometimes you can also even have the architecture here as a .md. So yeah, that's on executable documentation. Milestones and project management for people who have funding, for people like from Catalyst. It is also good to like documentation can also be used for that purpose. Transparent tracking of progress helps contributors know where the project is heading. Tools, GitHub, GitLab, milestones, issue trackers, and public roadmaps. Good thing is that like GitHub and these tools have good project management tools nowadays. There's also the contributing MD, mostly for open source, but also if you do have a private repository and you are expecting your team to grow, it is good to have a contributing MD to show people how they can contribute to your repository. So the documentation format and tooling, we have a variety of them. Most of you know like Markdown.md, like the one I've just shown you. Markdown is ubiquitous standard for open source. It is lightweight, readable as plain text, and easily version controlled alongside code. So primary use cases are readmes, contribution.mds, changelogs, and general repo documentation. It's a really quick way to like get your documentation in order. Most of the time, people usually just start from here before even creating a separate design spec or architecture. You just start with the .md, and as it becomes bigger, you start now separating the code. So the documentation, sorry. So tooling, it is supported natively by GitHub, GitLab, Bitbucket. For larger projects, Markdown files are compiled into searchable, stylized websites using static site generators such as Docusaurus. Even this page is Docusaurus. So all this is MD, what we're looking at for those who might be curious. All this is Markdown, but then now it's been compiled into a static site generator. Specifically Docusaurus for us as well. This powers developer portal. Yes, exactly. So there's LaTeX. This is mostly used by professors for research. LaTeX is legacy, heavyweight, standard for academic publishing and rigorous mathematical documentation, because you can also like write what are they called, like different proofs, or it has like those different patterns for mathematics and whatnot. I'm really not a mathematician, but I know that they use that a lot. So it provides absolute pixel perfect control over complex typesetting. Yes, exactly. Formulas, citations, and programmatically drawn diagrams. So it's used for formal research papers, cryptographic proofs, and foundational protocol white papers. Yeah, like the original Ouroboros papers. So it's postfixed with .text and compiled. Yes, question?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that GitHub supports LaTeX syntax. So if you use the $, between $signs, you can write LaTeX and it will interpret it in rendering for you. So that's also helpful for like small formulas every now and then.
And will that now be displayed as like the same way the MD is, or how is the display?
You write it within your MD file, and
Okay.
just add if you put it between single $signs, it's inline. If you use double $signs, it's its own line, and it renders
Okay.
the formula.
Okay, thank you for that. I actually didn't know that. Thank you. So yeah, the postfix is .text, and they usually compiled to PDFs. Yeah, that's why I was asking, like, if it's like compiled to Markdown.
Yeah, it renders in GitHub's website.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, it does have a steep learning curve. So it's generally reserved for highly specialized research teams rather than general open source contributors. Now, because of that huge learning curve, we have Typist. Typist is like LaTeX, but then more lightweight and easier to get started with. So it's modern, lightweight, fast alternative for LaTeX. It features a much cleaner syntax, compiles almost instantly, solving the slow iteration times and complex syntax issues of LaTeX while maintaining robust support for math, multi-page data tables, and integrated diagrams. So more or less, you can do almost most of the things you would be able to do with LaTeX. With Typist, it's just easier to get faster. It's like JavaScript to Java. So primary use case is modern white papers, technical architecture deep dives, and math-heavy documentation where authors want professional PDF outputs. Yeah, it also compiles to PDF, worth mentioning, without the overhead of learning LaTeX, yes. Increasingly popular in ecosystems like, yes, Cardano and Rust for creating published technical PDFs straight from a fast, understandable markup language. So ASCII-doc, postfix.adoc. This is from ASCII text. It's Markdown. If Markdown is a bicycle, ASCII-docs is a tank. ASCII-docs is a highly structured, standardized text format explicitly designed for complex book-length technical documentation and enterprise publishing. It natively handles advanced elements like complex tables, footnotes, includes and warning blocks. The Markdown that Markdown usually struggles with. So it's used in enterprise grade documentation like O'Reilly books and massive open source projects that outgrow Markdown simplicity. So tooling processed using ACIDoctor and often paired with Antora for managing multi-repository documentation sites. So we also have like .mmd files like Mermaid. So this system architecture and protocol flows are often impossible to explain with text. But saving diagrams as static.png files means they become instantly outdated when code changes. Mermaid allows you to write diagrams as text. So it's used for rendering sequence diagrams, state charts, and system architecture mapping directly inside MD files. So you could also like have your architecture design diagrams in the MD. It's supported natively by GitHub and Docusaurus. You write text blocks and browser dynamically renders them into visual diagrams. And you can also, it's worth mentioning, you can also like draw diagrams with LaTeX and Typist. So modern tooling, AI and API specifications. Documentation has evolved rapidly. Today, treating docs as code means utilizing modern integrations. So this might be contentious, but let's see. Bernard, you're not so fond of AI, but now times are changing. What will you do?
I have been reading a lot of documentation from AI.
Mhm.
And it has also been generating some of the documentation for some of the things which I have, because it was too much for one person in the time.
Mhm.
What I discovered, I don't know other tools, what I discovered is if you use it correctly, if it prompts, guide it, it will most likely give you the best results. But if you just don't do that, like a lot of tools on Cardano, we go there because we are doing certain things, we are having problems, we go there. You will see they've got what we call a generic abstract documentation. It's bulleted, you know what, you find it assumes a lot. It's bulleted, the phrases. And we are
That's mostly. I found that mostly with technical teams that maybe are not primarily Web3 or let's say Cardano, and they want to implement a Cardano project. So I've read some documentation where a Web2 developer trying to build something Cardano has used AI. And with that, I would very much agree. It was very, very general.
very
Like,
technical.
and possibly cannot even be used. Yes?
Yeah.
Done?
Yeah. So maybe adding on top of what you just said, nowadays there is a way to like expose new content to the AI. So the same way we were doing SEO for websites or simple documentation, we need to upgrade our documentation by exposing data and documentation to AI. Because when you are prompting, for example, ChatGPT, ChatGPT will go and look for documentation, but he won't maybe found information or right information. Why? Because those data are not well exposed to be used for AI. Nowadays, we need to like upgrade our documentation by exposing in a right way to make sure that when someone is prompting from specific AI, Claude or maybe ChatGPT, he will find like update information. When you are prompting and he doesn't really get any information, he will just generate text. So he will just generate a random or generic response. But now we need to upgrade and make sure that AI is able to read our documentation properly and give us right information.
Dan, do you use a particular tool? Is there a specific tool you use for writing documentation, or you just use generally like ChatGPT, Cloud, Gemini, the normal tools?
It really depends on what I'm contributing on, but for our project where we are using API Dog, it's free, but
Do you have a link?
yeah. I've just dropped the name in the chats. API Dog.
Yeah, no.
That one allow you to expose many type of not only markdown content. It also allow you to expose the RSS type of content. So AI is really able to read your documentation directly. Even Markdown, it really depends on how you configure. Even Docusaurus, you just add some configurations,
Mhm.
and AI will be really able to read your documentation and provide right information from your documentation directly.
Okay, interesting. I just use like the standard tools, but then like something that helps me is giving it like the right repositories, example repositories to look at, so that at least it understands like more context.
Sometimes what the AI do, if it doesn't really find the documentation, or he's not able to read the documentation, he can go look for the specific project. For example, if you are integrating Evolution SDK, for example, instead of like reading Evolution SDK documentation, he can just go in GitHub and read the code source and like now provide some generic information instead of like reading the documentation itself. So yeah, it just even our website, not only documentation, even website, even application. Right now, we need to like change the way we are exposing data, not only the simple SEO as we were doing for Google, for example. Now we need to make sure that AI is able to read and understand everything we have in the website or documentation. Yeah.
Okay.
I have found Hardog very difficult. I'm from a background where I'm just coming to such abstract documentation for the first time. So maybe you can click there, for example, the first one, ledger.address. Click that one there. And then you click the source there on the bar. Yeah, like this. This thing. It's like you are giving somebody code. You know, why do we write documentation?
Mhm.
And it's because the source code is something already technically difficult for somebody who is not a developer. So
Mhm.
this is the Hardog. That is the nice thing. I think they generated automatic, and a lot of people are very used to it. And those that are very used to it, you don't find it a problem. But now, how do we get our new student developers, new developers, getting used to this type of documentation?
True. Yeah. This is. I remember even for me the very first time, like I was learning Haskell, this felt a bit overwhelming. Like it doesn't give much context. You have to trust the one sentence and go within more code to understand one code, like levels of code in order to understand one code. So like this, you need to understand address and credential first.
And then it is good in the sense that you can click that, it will drill down. You click that.
Yeah.
Maybe you can click. Yeah, you see, it has taken us to the ledger credential module.
Yeah.
And then here again,
Same thing.
Same thing, you can drill on, going on, and then, but it's very abstract.
Yeah, I agree. So this is a very good example of, well,
Very difficult.
not developer friend, like not new developer-friendly documentation.
But we are using it. We need it. We need to use it. So what should we do like this? In Bluetooth, this is what we have. What should we do? Maybe Robertino can assist here.
Yeah, Robertino.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I agree that it can be abstract, but particularly like this is a Haskell library, and this is the API of the library. So you're not supposed to learn the concepts behind the library, behind what is written here from this. You should be able to, like, everything you needed to know from a different source, like a proper documentation. and then you say, okay, I want to use Haskell for this. And because I already know Haskell, and that way you already know what Haskell, what address, credential, etc. is, so you can navigate quickly. And if you already are familiar with Haskell, like you can find your way through this API, which is like very, very low cost because it already generates for you, like everything is pre-generated. So that's cool. But I do agree that if I tell you, hey, build the off-chain code for this API for this app, and I give you this API, you're like, what? Like that, even for Haskell developers, like if you're not familiar with the concept of Cardano, you're like, you have no chance. So like we need the documentation, and I think we need this after that. It's the same reason, the same way that we need Rust's generated API after that for the developer that actually wants to use the library. But with only this, we are in a very bad spot.
Yes, Dan?
Yeah, to add on top of what you just said, I think what you showed in the code we saw there, it's like, for example, when you're integrating a library, you are not going to read the library code. You need to read the documentation of how to implement that library. This code is for those who are contributing, or maybe those who are building the library itself. Because I don't use the full library. I don't need to know the full library code. For example, we are working with Evolution SDK. I don't need, if I want to integrate Evolution SDK in my project, I don't really need to know the code source of Evolution SDK. I just need to understand what it does and how to integrate it. What exactly what portion of code I need to add in my project to make sure that it works. So this level of code, it's for those who want to contribute, or they want to maybe go deeper, but for only implementation, or for simple developers, we just make sure that they have a very simple documentation for implementation, not for understanding the code.
Yes, thank you, Dan. So basically, we would maybe start from here, learn you a Haskell so that you can learn the basics of Haskell, and then, as before, you move into Plutus possibly.
Let me just share something else if I can.
Okay, sure.
Because I think you should, like, the correct way, which wasn't available when it was released initially, but it's now.
The Plinth repository.
Yes, I just share a link if you can open it, please.
Sure.
So that will be the documentation. On like the first level, the first interaction should be this kind of documentation. And then if you want to actually interact with the Ledger library using Haskell, you can go through the rest. So this explains the concepts and what everything that was explained like before, like the why and the how and everything. And once you're convinced 100% you want to do this, you can go to the API.
Okay. Thank you again, Robertino, for this.
Thanks, Robertino, for your contribution, and Haran for this topic of documentation. No, I've been in Cardano since 2021, 2022, with the Bluetooth pioneer, Dr. Lars, till now. And now I've got students, over 600 enrolling, and we are working. Documentation still in Cardano is not okay. My developers are here, you can ask them. It is not okay. We are almost how many years? 2022, 23, 24, 25. We are 5 years now. Even on any latest project that comes, I want to contrast, but I'm not saying the Cardano is very bad. It is good if you are already a technical person with a background. On a new person, like here is A, he goes to Ethereum. Here is B, he goes to Cardano, same time. Ethereum, things are easy, they are quick. Documentation is easy to follow, you get your things, they start working. In Cardano, it is not like that because of documentation. I saw very good documentation on Cardano Foundation website. I said, but this Cardano Foundation documentation is supposed to be the one which is here on this plinth, the one that we are opening there. It is very clear, step by step, you can follow it. But when I want to develop in Cardano, I just type Cardano developer tools. Then I go to that Cardano.org. Then I go there, then I come here. When I come here now, compare it with Cardano Foundation. Why did we not centralize this in one place? You have done very good documentation, Haran, but it is on Intersect website. A new developer, if you want to see, any new developer say, all right, you want to develop in Cardano, which is your first website to search? They are going to type Cardano there. Then the first one that will come, Cardano.org. There is no Intersect link there. And go to IoT. Robertina, IoT has got beautiful documentation for their developers, even on the IoT Academy, whatever. Beautiful. But it is not here where the first point of entry is. I don't know if you get my point of scattered. And then, yeah, that's my experience.
I do. Dan?
Yeah, thanks, Bernard, for that. I think, yeah, that's a good point. We have a lot of documentation, but people are lost. I know I'm training developers from Zambia, but the main question are coming where to go. It's supposed to be very clear, and that's even why we are working on the develop Intersect. What is it exactly? Developer experience innovation working group, yeah, to make sure that we can centralize and to focus on one documentation, to make sure that when you are looking for Cardano documentations, you start from there, and then from there you now if you want to go deeper in ICANN, for example, you can like now go from A to B, knowing that I know the path. Okay, this is the first website where I get all the basics. And if I want to go, if I want to have more technical exercises, for example, I will go to this website. So that's what I was trying to add on top of, yeah. But yeah, the problem is there and we know it, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I agree with both. And I was actually redacting like a huge issue that I'm putting into the CF website to make more clear exactly like how to make it this entry point that is actually useful and not just confusing, and which things we have to put in there and which things we don't to avoid being too fragile, etc. But yeah, I totally agree. Like it's not just documentation. It's tooling is fragmented, the libraries are fragmented, everything is fragmented. We're so decentralized. Everything is decentralized. But yeah, it's an issue we have to solve, and there are people trying to working on it. But like we are in the actually, I'm working on a proposal that I want to present to solve exactly this as part of like a huge developer experience overall. But like I have to try to convince the whole community to work together, and it's not so easy because everyone has their own incentives. So it's really hard. But if we manage to like pull together in a single direction, I think we have the raw intellect and the raw people. So we just need to agree in the direction, and we're good. So we're working on it, and I'm creating an issue right now. So after this meeting, you can go to the dev portal and see my huge issue, and you can comment on it if you disagree.
We'll comment the issue and say that we are behind that issue. We want it to be solved.
Yeah. Like immediately you create it, you can post it in the developer advocate water cooler. I think you're part of it, and we can also comment on it.
Perfect, amazing.
Right.
Thank you so much for bringing that to our attention, Leonard.
Yes,
Yes.
but we are not solving the problem because now
What?
we are leaving Robertino to go and solve it. It's not going to be easy unless we work with him from different communities, Timber Labs, Cardano Foundation, Intersect, IOG. I mean, all these different organizations that have got tools that we are using, that we are contributing to, or that we are learning, so that there is one point of entry. And then from that one point of entry, we diffuse frustration.
So
So
I believe that's what the Cardano Developer Experience Innovation Working Group is going to be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is like a collaboration between all these different organizations. So it's not like we are leaving it to Robertino, but we're just giving him some backup so that it can be taken, this issue can be taken seriously, because it is a huge issue.
You have already done a lot of massive good documentation. But
It's in the wrong place.
It's on Intersect. And also, if you go to Cardano there, on Cardano Foundation, they have it on their blogs.
Yeah.
If you go to IOG, they have it on their blogs. But all our new people, even if you send me to Ethereum or Solana, I will type Solana developer tools. That Solana is .org, Cardano.org, start, I go there, must be the central point. Then from there, we can then have all this. If you want this, then go to Intersect. If you want this, then go this way. Then from there, but my basic need, I must be able, within a short time, to use the documentation to get started and get something.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. I think you are right. Most of many like blockchain, not only blockchain, even infrastructure, when they want to organize their documentation, they have one entry point, like where everyone starts. For example, for what is it again? I just forgot the name. Sorry, but the blockchain is very, very huge, but you are able to, like, when you open it, you go to the developer section, you open the subdomain, you'll find everything there. So it really depends on what you are looking for, but in that main portal, you'll find everything, and now you can go deeper depending on really what you want to do. Yeah, that's what we are trying to do, and yeah, we hope that will solve the issue.
Yeah, very important conversations, and this is exactly like what these sessions are for. I really appreciate you guys like for contributing your insight. Robertino, Dan, Bernard. We're definitely going to stress this more, like in the innovation working group, so that it can be like hurriedly improved. But for now, so for now, there is like this. If you are interested in this documentation, like how to write competent documentation, it will be available in the developer experience working group session. Once of course everything is centralized, everything will be in cardano.developer.org. And another thing maybe for you guys who've joined and maybe are looking to integrate yourself into the ecosystem, this is a very good place to start because the documentation within Cardano, all of it is open source. So knowing and learning how to write quality documentation is important, and it will put you in a place where at least you can be able to contribute to the already existing projects. So the situation right now is that most of the developers that are in the ecosystem focus on the new projects. So updating the documentation can lag behind sometimes. So it can be an easy to reach milestone if you can like immerse yourself and try and see like look at some of the repositories, try to understand what's going on. Go read like a README. Is it explaining? Leave an issue. Tell them I do not understand this. Also, that could help. So, guys, I want to thank you for joining. Feel free to ask or say anything if you feel like you need to say anything, but we are done with our session for today.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Robertino, on the Discord.
I just sent you a friend request.
Oh, yes. Let me just go there. Pending. Oh, yes. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ron.
One more thing. If anyone feels like they would need additional guidance, so I'd like to mention that as the developer advocates, we do offer one-on-one mentorship. So still same in the developer experience working group in the README, you would find my name. Dan is there. My name is Harun. You'll find Dan Baruka there, Uche, Emmanuel. Feel free to reach out to any one of us and book an appointment. We'll be happy to help.
Got it.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Amazing. See you around.
See you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you. See you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.